All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. It's the Black Diamond Podcast. I'm your host, Will White, and we got a great episode today. Let's waste no time. Let's get into it. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, subscribe to the channel. Leave a like, leave a comment. Drop your thoughts below on the topic we're about to discuss tonight. We're getting into why it's not empowering for men and women to have one night stands. So, if you want to hear my thoughts about that, what I think, my opinions, stay tuned. Watching this pre recorded. I hope you enjoy the show. And yeah, we're going to do a reaction to a video that I found, and then we'll go from there. Like I said, if you guys haven't followed me by now, follow me on Instagram, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so get me there. And yeah, tell me your thoughts, leave a comment, leave a like. Let's do it. Not going to waste any time here because we got more to show you, more content to give out, more thoughts. All right. Let me know how the quality is. Let me know how my mic sounds, guys. We are going to get into this episode. You see the video title. It says Woman Says One Night Stands Are Empowering. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into that. Shout out to the creator who found this content, reacted to it, Reva TV. Yeah, Reva, if you ever want to be on the podcast, let me know. It's an open invite. Would love to have you on the show. But yeah, let's get into this episode, guys. Please let me know how my audio is, how I sound. Few changes coming up in the future, guys. We are getting better. I'm giving you guys more content. So we are going to keep pushing forward. Just stay tuned. Be on the lookout. That's all I have to say. Be on the lookout.
I'm going to tell you guys about my first one night stand. It genuinely feels like this happened in the Matrix. I had never had a one night stand in the sense where I slept with somebody who I met that day and never spoke to them again. That's just never been my cup of tea. Every time I sleep with a man, I'm like, surely he wants to date me, and something comes out of it. I'm also just not the type to sleep with somebody the first time I meet them. I need to have some sort of emotional connection. That's hard to do with somebody that you just meet. One morning, I go to the gym, waiting at the elevator, and this group of guys are behind me, and they start asking me if there's like a pool upstairs. So clearly they were visiting. There's three of them. They're cute guys. They're asking me about restaurants, and they're telling me their plans for that evening. And I was like, oh my God, I love that place. And they were like, okay, great. Like, come with us. Even though I just met them, I had seen one of them before. I was like, okay, YOLO, why not? I haven't really done anything fun and spontaneous in a while. My girlfriend couldn't make it, so it's just me. They were really, really fun. We actually all got along really well. After dinner, we go back to their place that they're staying at. They're going to space, and that's just not my vibe. So I was like, oh, I'll just hang out with you guys while you pregame, and then when you leave, I'm gonna head back home. There's one guy who's noticeably interested in me. Like, he's the one who's like taking the lead with me, sitting next to me at dinner, all the stuff. He was the one that I initially was like, oh, he's cute. But as the night progresses, I'm like, wait, the other one's cute. I was just flirting with everybody. The guy who was initially really trying with me ends up going to space, and everybody else does except for the other guy who I was interested in. So when everybody left, it was just us two in the place. I will say, I wasn't even sure if this man was on my team, if you know what I mean. Like, I wasn't sure. I was about to leave, but me and him just start talking. We have a great conversation. We end up talking for about an hour. He was like, I'm going to change. Do you want some sweats? Nice touch on his part. I pick a show. I will say it was me who picked the show, but the new Love on the Spectrum had just come out. I fully was not expecting to sleep with this man. We end up watching, I want to say, like 3 or 4 episodes of Love on the Spectrum. Before I know it, we're hooking up. I just have this vivid memory of me on the couch. I'm getting railed. I look at the TV screen. It's Love on the Spectrum, and they're like being all sweet and It's the last thing I expected to be doing on this night. It was all just a massive plot twist because the one who I thought, like, if anything, I would sleep with, it ended up being a completely different man. The show on in the background is just like insane. In my head, I'm cracking up. I'm trying not to like ruin the moment or ruin the mood, but I'm like, this was not on my bingo card tonight or ever. And I never talked again. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. My feelings weren't hurt. I always thought that, like, after a one night stand, I would just feel horrible about myself. I actually felt really good and empowered. I had been getting over a man at this point too. And that was the nail in the coffin, I think. That's what helped me because, like, I hadn't slept with somebody for so long. There's other people out there that just kind of like solidified things for me. And it really helped me mentally get over my attachment to this guy. It was like the one last thing to get over this guy. So I'm forever thankful for Love on the Spectrum, man. It's actually a night that I look back on fondly.
Okay, so I saw this video in the wonderful world of TikTok. Okay, that's where I saw it, and we have to talk about it. Okay, for the first thing I want to say before we get into all the foolishness, the first thing I want to say is that this propaganda of men are dangerous, of the things that are going on TikTok. If it's the man or the bear, I'm gonna choose the bear. All these things of that. They're men are just we're so afraid of them, and then they're so volatile, and all of these things is obviously rubbish. Okay, it's obviously not true, because if there's a woman who meets three men and decides to go on an entire day, of escapades with them, and does not know them, has only seen them, and has no idea who they are, is getting in the car with them, is going to their home. Okay, I know I said that a little loud, but it's for the purposes to hit you. She went to a house with beds with men that she does not know. Any woman who has the ability or the capacity to do that lets me know that this whole, as I said, propaganda of men being so dangerous is something that is completely false.
Very true. This whole propaganda narrative that men are dangerous and painted as more dangerous than being with a bear while stuck in the wilderness is definitely propaganda that they have instilled within society, and something they're promoting to just make men more emasculated, right? Because if you tell men you're inherently dangerous, what are men going to do? They're going to come off more gentle. They're going to come off more soft. They're going to come off more appeasing and pandering more to women and to more women throughout the years. So that's the whole agenda they're trying to push. They're trying to emasculate men and just make them softer so that women can feel more comfortable around strangers. But as you can already see, women are already comfortable around certain types of men. Okay, it's not really about just men being dangerous. It's about being a certain guy who just isn't weird, being socially acclimated around situations, being charismatic, being able to display confidence and intelligence throughout where you are, no matter which situation you're in, right? So, the men they're talking about that they feel are dangerous are the men they most likely ignore, right? But for all the men who are actually charismatic and good at conversing with people and just talking and displaying their confidence, this doesn't really apply to them, right? But for the huge majority of women, if they have just one one instance where they're feeling comfortable, this is the narrative they're going to try to push because they want all men to be this way.
Let's not even get into the thousands of women in the comment section talking about, yes, sis, get it how you live. Another thing that I have to say is her ending the video and saying, that's a night that I look back on fondly is very irresponsible.
Yes, that's a dangerous rhetoric to look at this fondly in a way where you're not taking any accountability for your actions or what perspired from the situation, and kind of just preaching this narrative that it's okay to do shit like this. This is really the depravity and deviance that we want to promote now all over the internet. A platform where you have kids watching, kids who are in prepubescent ages, adolescents, they're going through different emotions, different feelings. They're watching content like this. They're watching you do your makeup They're hearing your stories. They're hearing about these experiences. And for the most part, you're not taking, you're not saying, maybe you could have done something differently with the situation. You're actually promoting it. So it's like, what are we really teaching the younger generation coming up, or the newer generation that's just now entering the dating market? What are we promoting? What values, what morals are we having? What morals are we promoting to the generation that we have displayed? So
This is why I don't subscribe to no sisterhood foolishness. This is why I don't subscribe to no feminist nonsense. This is why I don't subscribe to any of that stuff, because at the end of the day, they talk about how empowering even this woman said it, how empowering it was to sleep with a man that she does not know, and to use sleeping with a man that she does not know to get over somebody who she had an intimate relationship with. How she, was interested in one guy, was talking to one guy, then started to flirt with every single person there. That is very dangerous rhetoric to put on the internet to allow other women or younger girls who are watching you to download and interpret that information in any way. And you said, oh, it felt very empowering. That's dangerous. You're telling other younger women that they have the capabilities of doing the same thing that you did and coming out unfazed, unhinged, untouched, no issue, no problem. Nothing's going to happen to you. I did it and it was amazing. It was great. Not talking about the things that can happen where it can affect them for the rest of their lives. Not talking about the things that can be contracted. Not talking about the fact that you just happen to have this certain situation, however, how dangerous it is to put themselves into these aspects. That's not your concern at all. It's all about having a good time and having fun and sharing it for everybody else in the world to see.
And really, what I think it is I do think it affected her to some degree, but for the image, she has to promote it in a way where she empowers herself, where she looks like she's empowered. But deep down, we know that's all cap. These girls don't want to just get used and abused like this and just get tossed to the side and never hear the guy hear back from them again. So like she has to put on that front where she has to make herself feel empowered, right? If she doesn't, then she just looks like a clown. And for all the guys who were in the group who were there trying to get at her, right? What does that tell you about what they did, right? They're seeing female nature firsthand. They're seeing this is hypergamy firsthand, right? Because you have a group of guys with one girl, right? And they're all essentially thinking the same thing. Who's gonna get it first, right? And from her story, based on her story, it wasn't the guy who did the most. It was the guy who was laid back, right? It was the guy who put in the least amount of effort. And that's usually how it goes. The guys who put in the least amount of effort typically get the girl. Now, why is this important? That's because when you start choosing, you start having these one night stands and these encounters, right? These sexual encounters with guys who just do the bare minimum, then you're going to create a bunch of guys who are going to do the bare minimum to get what they want at the end of the day, which is sex, right? Or intimacy, some form of intimacy, right? So you have a whole bunch of guys just competing with each other, right? But understanding that, the one who does the least but puts out the most confidence is going to get the girl, right? And if he does it once, what's stopping him from doing the same moves, the same style, the same plays all over again, and then just keep repeating the cycle, right? So then you have a whole bunch of guys who understand that there's women out here who find this empowering. So what are they constantly going to keep doing? They're going to constantly keep putting out the bare minimum. They're going to constantly keep doing the least they can to get what they want and just get out. And then in the woman's mind, she has to tell herself that this is empowering. This is okay. Like what happened was just a way for me to get over someone else. Riding the CC. You ride the CC until you forget about your last partner, and then you start messing up your power bonding, right? And then it's harder for you to connect with the next person that you meet because you don't know if it's going to be a one night stand or if it's actually going to lead into a relationship. So
I'm starting to realize that nobody has a diary anymore. I'm starting to realize that, diaries must be a thing of yesteryear, because everything that people are going through, the intricate details, even if they made mistakes, even if it's things that they're not quote unquote so proud of, they are learning to be proud of these things, and not only be proud, but to share it on the internet so that it's up there forever. And again, are not understanding the level of influence that especially that app has on people across the board, especially younger girls. Younger girls who are in high school, they looking up to this and they watching it, and they're
Younger guys too. Let's not forget the young boys are watching this and they're listening to the story and they're taking notes. They're taking notes about what happened and the effects of just of this being possible, right? The idea of you having to sleep with the girl and being in a relationship with her, that's not always true now. Now you can just get a one night stand and go on about your day. If you play your cards right. If you're that guy.
saying, "Oh yeah, well she had fun. I like her. I like the way she does her makeup. I like the way she dresses. I'm gonna copy what she does." They don't care. You say, "Oh, it's all about support other women," but do you really care about other women?
Nah, they don't. It's just about not feeling bad for yourself, right? It's all about just, how can I flip this in a way where I don't look like a clown? I look empowered. So
Because nothing happened to you, and it wasn't detrimental for you. Do you not care about, the possibilities for other women when you put this out there on the internet? You said it. You gave us a full play by play. Another thing that threw me for a loop, okay, is the fact that she said, "Oh, I had no idea I was gonna sleep with anybody. What are you doing
yeah.
at their house? Everybody else left, and there's just this one young man there, and you're there. What do you think is gonna happen? That y'all was gonna play in makeup together? Y'all thought y'all was gonna play tic tac toe? The whole setting Netflix and chill is for a reason. As soon as that man asked you if you wanted to wear some sweatpants, you should have known what time it was. Let's keep it real.
Something they're not gonna do. They're never gonna keep it real, man. Like they're always gonna act dumb till the last minute. But the guy came prepared. He already knew what time it was. So
This is how other young girls get hurt. They get their feelings hurt. They're in certain situations where sometimes they can physically be harmed because they go to places thinking, "Oh, well, I just..."
Like I said, this goes back to breeding that mindset, that one night mindset, one night stand mindset that these guys will start to have, right? They'll start to develop, how can I do the bare minimum and get what I want? And then they'll pick a girl who, maybe isn't used to this, and it doesn't turn out so well, right? She wants a relationship, and it actually turns into one night stand. And she never hears back from this guy, and now she's hurt, right? She's never felt this feeling before, and now she starts taking it out on another guy. It breeds a cycle of just not being able to emotionally connect on a deeper level, right? So we gotta be careful about what the narrative and what we're preaching on the internet.
just think he's cute. It's not a big deal. But it is a big deal because you're putting yourself in a predicament that anything could happen, any game can play, and it seems as though you're compliant. Because why else would everybody else leave and you're still here? Why else would you accept the sweatpants? Why else would you take the remote and put on something on Netflix? Why else? What else are you here for? What else would we be doing? And then she said, "Oh, well, he never contacted me again, but my feelings weren't even hurt. I just felt empowered. I felt good about it." Why would he call you? Yeah. He saw what you was down for. He was like, "Oh no, if she this kind of girl that could just meet me and everything just happened, and I saw her, she was flirting with him, and then she just get with me. All I'm gonna do is just dap up my boys and let them know what happened and keep it pushing. There would be no need for the call." What really got to me as well as all these other things is when she said she didn't even know if he was playing for her team. Yeah. Now, I don't know if that meant that she didn't know if he liked her or not, but I was under the interpretation that meant that she didn't even know if he liked girls. Just listen to this. Women will meet a man that they don't even know if he likes girls or not, and will throw the kitty at him without him doing any type of work, any type of courting, dating, spending any money, and they will just throw it. They will just give it to him. But then there'll be a man that really likes them, and they put him, over the river and through the woods to try to prove, oh no, I'm not that kind of girl. I'm just not.
Facts. Shout out to Reva for this video, man. She spoke a lot on it. I'm gonna give my last thoughts on it, and then we're gonna go into a little discussion. But yeah, what this breeds is a dangerous mindset, dangerous rhetoric for men and women, where you're gonna have guys do the bare minimum to get the girl that they want and to get what they want from that woman, and then you're gonna have women out there who are experiencing something like this and don't want to look like they don't want to look like a 304. They don't want to look like a clown at the end of the day, so they have to go on the internet and flip this whole narrative that this is empowering, this is cool to do, right? This is something you should be doing when you break up with an ex, right? They're gonna try to normalize this because they don't want to feel like they made a bad choice. They don't want to take any accountability for what happened. But ultimately, like, this is worse for men because you start breeding this mindset that guys are just gonna do the bare minimum to get what they want from the women, and that is never gonna turn out well. You start doing that, and it puts you in a vicious cycle where you, as a man, at some point, you're gonna need to develop some type of more mature feelings for women and more mature feelings within yourself. And you're gonna have a hard time doing it. You're gonna have a hard time bonding and figuring out, okay, if this girl let me do this the first night, which category do I put her in, right? So you need to think about that deeply when you listen to these stories. You're listening to like what you have to do to get the girl that you want. Sometimes it's not always about getting the girl, but just becoming a better person as a whole, as a total. So let's get into this discussion, guys. Got a guest with us. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Hi, what's your name, age, and what do you do for work?
I am Angela Brand. I am 48. I am a women's empowerment coach and speaker. The core topics is femininity, speaking, and coaching.
Okay, great. Relationship status?
I am in a relationship.
Okay. Married?
No,
Okay. How long you guys been together?
we've been together 6 months.
Okay, fairly new, right?
Yes.
Okay, so thoughts on the video and if you think one night stands should be empowering for women.
Heck no.
You
No,
said heck
not
no.
no, not at all. No, I think one night stands are for irresponsible people, people who don't value themselves. Because if you have to go out and sleep with a person that you just met for the first night to empower yourself, then there's a level of trauma that you need to heal from.
So what you say to the girl? She said she never did, that was her first time having that or experiencing something like that. But she said it helped her get over her ex. You don't think to some degree that all women should kind of do that when they're having a hard breakup?
Oh, no, no. I think the first thing women should do to have a heartbreak up is get therapy, get counseling
Okay.
to help you through that breakup, or else you will lose yourself trying to figure out what happened, trying to get over that person versus looking at what was your part in it. Being a woman that is my age, I've experienced a lot of heartbreak and breakups and mishaps. And I've learned to jump into a bed with another person is not an answer for healing. It's not an answer to get over somebody. You got to look at yourself and say, what part of it do I keep playing in these failed relationships?
That's true. Now, I'm gonna flip it a little bit. For guys, I think that if you're having if you went through a hard breakup, it doesn't hurt to put yourself out there in that way, just to kind of get a feel for how you are and how you're going to be and what you can attract within the dating market. Now, for women, on the other hand, this kind of doesn't apply because as a woman, when you go out to the dating market, you know that you can pretty much just do whatever you want and guys would want to sleep with you, right? But for guys who have been in a relationship for a very long time, talking like years plus, and you're just not used to dating anymore, and maybe you don't have the confidence or the charisma to approach women anymore, it's definitely beneficial for you to go out there and put yourself out there, even after a breakup, right after, to put yourself out there just to get a feel on where you are in terms of your attractiveness, what you can improve on, whether it's your speaking, your confidence, your your intelligence, the way you're speaking, what topics you talk about with this woman. So I would say it's a little bit different, but for sure, it's a dangerous rhetoric that I think media is trying to portray right now, where we're telling women, "Oh, it's empowering to just go out and just sleep with whoever." There's things like the slut walk that we have going on now. And it's like those things just, to me, preach a dangerous message, especially to the young girls and the young women who are now entering the dating market or soon to be entering the dating market. And they're watching this and they're going off to college and they and they have this image in their head of like, this is what I should be doing,
Right.
right? And it's like, where are the morals? Where are the values that our generation, or even was it Gen Z, where are the morals and the values that we're supposed to be reflecting onto the youth?
I think a lot of it starts within a home because let's just say she was 30 something and she had a child. This is the message she's passing on to her children. This is a standard of the value of who I am, that I have to sleep with somebody else to get over a past relationship. And I don't even think men should do it after a relationship because it's still determining your worth based off somebody else. When you know who you are and you're secure in who you are, I don't need to get into bed with somebody else to validate my attractiveness, to do all those things. When you cultivate who you are before getting into any relationships and maintaining that identity, then I don't need another person to validate me. I don't need another person to test my communication skills if I'm continuously always working on myself to improve who I am. I think that's the difference in the age groups, to where the younger people feel like that I need somebody else to validate how good I look or what my body look like. If you put your value on exterior things, then you will always need those exterior things to maintain who you are. But if you focus on who you are from the inside, your being, what makes up who you are, then other things don't define you. I think that's the difference in the age groups and the level of healing that some people take, making personal growth the first priority versus another person.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a part of it. You definitely got to work on yourself. Spend some time just rebuilding, improving. I always say improvement never stops, especially when you're in a relationship. You can never really slow down on the improvement. You can't get too comfortable. A lot of
Yeah.
times when guys get into relationships, they get comfortable, start gaining weight, they stop going to the gym because they got the girl that they wanted already. Stop making as much money, and they stop being proactive. They stop learning how to talk to other women and all that good stuff. But the improvement really never stops. Even when you're in a relationship, you got to keep improving yourself, keep getting better and better. How's my audio though? Can you hear me all right?
You're very low.
It's very low.
Yeah.
Let me see. How about now? Can you hear? Is it better?
No, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Oh man. One second. Let me try something real quick. All right. How about now? Is that better?
It's the same.
Okay, how about now?
Yes.
That's better?
Yes.
All right, sorry about that, guys. We do this live, test it out, but yeah, so oop, see, this topic is one night stands. So, do you have any questions for me or any topics you want to talk about?
Well, for how old are you?
I am 29.
Okay. Have you ever had a one night stand? And do you find it empowering?
Ah, how can I say this? I'm a man of God, so let's start off with that. But I do know guys who have had one night stands, right?
Mhm.
So take it away from myself. I do, like I said, like in some circumstances, I understand where a one night stand is necessary, right? If a guy is dealing with a breakup or he's dealing with the women who just isn't really on his program, then I think going out there and putting yourself out there is going to be beneficial.
Let's can we elaborate on that? So you saying exchanging energy with a total stranger is beneficial for a guy to get over if he's been in a long term relationship or he needs to get himself back out there. Like for me at my age, I'm trying to understand if more men thought like you, I'm trying to understand what is the standard for a man and how they deal with breakups.
Right. So when it really gets dangerous when you start to realize that like the guy in the video, you start to realize that if you do the bare minimum, then you get the one night stand. That's when it gets dangerous. When you start putting out the most minimal effort, right, and you still get the results that you wanted, that's when it can get really dangerous because you kind of learned the little quirks and what it takes just to get what you want out of a woman,
Hmm.
and then just be ready to leave, right? So before it hits that point, you do have to build yourself up as a guy and just learn how to be attractive and just learn how to communicate with women on a certain level. Uh, and that part of it is going to be beneficial, right? So being able to attract the woman and then having the option to be intimate with her is what you need. Whether you choose to do that or not is up to you. But as long as you're at that level where you're able to attract that woman and get the intimacy, you do with it as you please. But still not just doing the bare minimum, right?
Now, is that a standard for a man that is driven by sex and not who he is as a masculine man? What would be the difference?
Is that a man who's driven by sex and not a masculine man? I would say that could definitely be a masculine man.
When
And
what I mean, what
ultimately,
I mean, what I mean
yeah.
by driven by sex is why do we have to go to the extent of having sex with the person and not just having the experiment of building his confidence by mingling and socializing and learning how to engage with women on a positive level without the sex.
Oh yeah, you need that aspect too. Like I said, you have to build yourself up. You have to improve. You have to get your fitness, your purpose, your mindset, your emotional capacity on point. But ultimately, uh, why it's important to be able to attract the women to that level is because women don't care about you unless you're intimate with them. All right.
You think
If
so?
you're never into, yeah, well, I mean, unless they're like your family, like a woman who's not a girl who's not part of your family, she's not going to care about you unless you've been intimate with her.
And what age group is this?
So
I mean,
I
what I
guess
look
I
like
guess you
really what
disagree.
age
I
group
would
is
say
this?
this is all age groups, but I guess you disagree with that point.
I really do disagree with it. Like at a
So
woman at my age and where I am in life, I can have deep feelings for a man I never had sex with because I'm looking for something different. When you're younger, yes, every the relationship is driven by sex, but when you're a little bit older and you have had the sex and you have been in relationship, you have had your heart broken, your values change. You know, eventually your relationship can't be maintained just by sex. So your
but,
feelings and what you look for is something totally different.
but let me ask you this: for those guys who you said you had feelings for, right? Was intimacy? Did you not see that as a vision in your mind already with them?
Uh to some level, yes.
Exactly.
Now
Because if you didn't,
like you can
then
have
you would just see
sex.
that guy as a friend.
Now you can have sex with a guy and not have feelings for him. Your feelings can either
And that's
get
the
deeper
dangerous
or your
part.
feelings
That's what
can
we're
get
seeing right now is that women can have sex with guys and not have feelings for them. And
yes.
why they're this is why they're okay with one night stands. This is the whole dangerous rhetoric that we're preaching. Well,
Right.
that
But the same token,
society's preaching.
I can have feelings for a man that I've never had sex with and be content and not having sex with him if sex were to be taken out of it or sex were to decrease along the way. But it's not the basis of my whole feelings for that person. Now, when you're young and you're driven by sex, maybe, but when you're older and you understand relationships go beyond the sex, it's a big
Right. I
component, but it
understand that
goes
aspect.
beyond the sex.
But most men, though, regardless of age, we always go for. Most men are always going to want women for for intimacy at some point, especially if
Yes,
they seek something further. Right. Uh, that's that's just the way it's always been. Right. It creates intimacy creates a natural chemical reaction in your bodies, right? And for the
correct.
woman, it allows you to emotionally connect on a deeper level with that man.
It
For
does.
men, it allows you to be more territorial, want to protect, want to provide for that woman, right? So this is all nature. This is all designed on purpose for a certain way.
I agree.
Um, yes, you can have a somewhat of a relationship where you're not intimate with that person, but I think the thought and the mindset is there, and that's how women get to that deeper level of feelings and emotions.
I think most women, when they're at a healed place, they get to that deep emotional level when they have a safe space to be vulnerable with who they are as a woman, vulnerable in their femininity, vulnerable to the point they can be transparent. Because if you can have great sex, but if you don't feel safe with that man, you're gonna always have your walls up, and you're not gonna really have deep feelings for that person. It's gonna be surface level.
Right. So, are you saying it's the man's job to bring out the woman's feminine side?
It's a man's job to create that safe environment so she can take off her cape, so she can relax and being around him. She don't have to play all the roles from society, or she don't have to fall into the labels as a woman, but she can totally relax and be herself. That's on both parts. But I feel it's a man's job to create a safe environment for her to relax in her femininity.
But when you date a truly masculine man, he's naturally going to do that for you. He's naturally going to like that. That naturally
Exactly.
comes with the intimacy. He's naturally going to want to protect and provide for you, right?
Right, but
So,
he has to be at that place in his life. If he's not in the place in his life, she's not going to relax in that feminine
but
energy.
doesn't that come down to the man that you choose, right?
It
So,
does. It does.
okay,
The
so
man you choose, the man you
so whether or
attract.
not like this man makes you feel feminine or not, you chose that guy. right?
No, it's not making you feel feminine. It's allowing your femininity to flow where you feel safe around him.
But why choose that guy if he doesn't like? That's my whole point. Why choose him in the first place if he
Right,
doesn't make you feel that way?
right. I get that. Right. But some women who operates more in their masculinity tend to choose guys that don't give them that. So it still goes back on the person who you being and who you are attracting in life.
Now, all right, now let me ask you this: what if I said, hypothetical situation, if I had my sound effects, let's say we're in a dream world right now, right? Me and you are possibly dating. We met each other, right? What if I said, I need you to bring out the masculinity in me? So I'm feminine. I wear dresses and heels when I'm around you until you bring out the masculine side of me. Does that sound?
No, I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. That's a
No,
little bit
no,
to
but
the
no, but I'm saying, but it's like answer the question first. Does that sound like that makes sense?
no. It make
It
it
doesn't.
it don't make
But wait,
sense.
it makes sense for the men out there to be masculine enough to a point where we bring out the femininity out of a masculine woman.
So you have two different degrees. Now, the man that wears the dresses and the femininity, now he have to question his sexuality. That's something totally different.
He
That's something
wants you to
totally
bring out his
different.
masculinity, though.
That
It, it, it's
no.
it's the same as the boss babe who yells at her workers all day and night, and when she comes home, she doesn't want to yell at her husband, so she wants her husband to bring her in a feminine state. Why do I need to do that?
What that,
Just
that's the that's that's the
the same reason
point.
why you wouldn't want to bring a guy who wears dresses to make him masculine.
Right. So you misunderstand. I didn't say bring out. I said specifically when he's in his masculine energy, it allows her to relax more in her feminine energy if she's not already there to the full capacity. It makes the relationship more easier and it flows in the polarity of everything. Let's say you have a woman that have not nurtured her femininity, right? She operates more in her masculinity. It's going to be up to her to do things with intentions so that way her femininity will flow and she can take off the hat of the boss as the leader when she's home. That's solely her responsibility. Now, when you have a man that is in his masculinity, yes, it's going to allow her to flow a lot easier in her process, but she already have to be there on her own.
My whole thing is a masculine guy who's truly masculine already. Why would he want a masculine woman and then have to put in work to provide no well there's some fish to provide an even more safer environment than he's providing currently to bring out the femininity in a woman when this masculine man probably already has the options to go get a woman who's putting the work outside of their relationship and is that feminine woman already.
You just said what I
Why would he
just
want to
said
have
in
to
a
put in
different
more
way.
work?
When you just said what I just said in a totally different. When I said allow her to be safe, meaning the trust level. Yes, she has to pick a man that will work for her, and he's in his masculinity, she's in his femininity. But at the same token, there still have to be a level of trust for her to feel safe, for them both to feel safe and trust each other in the relationship. Feel safe with his decision making, feel safe in the environment. All those things still has to be cultivated in the relationship.
But you wouldn't trust him if he was feminine presenting. What if he was just feminine presenting and you had to provide a safe space for him to be that confident leader, that confident masculine leader?
And if she want to pick a feminine man, that's totally up to her. That's totally up to.
But
That's
that
totally
but
up
that's
to
what I'm
her.
saying. If we
But
wanted
it's
like
what you
what
want.
guy wants a masculine woman?
There's
They
a
should
lot
just
of
be
men that
feminine.
want a masculine woman if he's not masculine himself. Now, those things depends on the household he was raised in, the women in his family. All those make a big factor in how we choose mates.
No, but what I'm saying is we're seeing a lot of women nowadays who are saying the same thing you're saying, right? They need a safe space to really bring out that femininity within themselves. But men are looking at it and thinking, well, if I was feminine, you wouldn't even approach me. You wouldn't even try to talk to me if I was feminine presenting. So I'm supposed to put in more work because you're masculine presenting, and then I'm supposed to bring out your femininity. I'm supposed to provide an even more safer space to allow you to be feminine. And it's like I don't think femininity is something like a switch, right? I don't think it's a light switch you could just turn off and on. Like once he does this, okay, it's on, or okay, if he doesn't do this, it's off. I think if you're truly a feminine woman, it's going to be there throughout who you are. It's going to be out throughout your lifestyle, throughout what you do on a daily basis. Your femininity is going to manifest itself. Just like how
It
a
does.
masculine guy, if a guy is masculine at home, he's typically not going to be feminine at work, right? Which is why it
Right.
doesn't make sense when you have a boss woman who earns a whole bunch of money, right? And she's very masculine presenting at work because she has employees that she needs to manage. And then when she comes home, she thinks she can just turn it off. It's not going to work like that, right? I think I believe that you have to be feminine throughout your daily lifestyle for it to really work. It's not just a switch that just goes off and on. It's something that
True.
you have to implement on a daily basis, and it's hard, especially when you're a high earning woman or in a career field that has you to be that makes you a little bit more dominant than you naturally would be in something more like a caretaking or nurturing role.
I think because I deal with a lot of women in their journeys, it depends on where they are in the journey. You have women that have operated in masculinity for most of their life, but they're now on the journey of becoming that feminine woman that they want to be. So for women, it's a little bit more, I don't want to use the word complicated, but it's a little bit more developing in the process because of women having to wear so many hats in the household. You have the single moms, you have the whole strong woman movement. For a woman, it takes development along her way. So when I say him having to or allowing that safe space is allowing her room to grow more in her femininity if she's not already 100% there. So it depends on where you find her in her journey. And if she's working toward that on a day-to-day basis, like working with a coach or a mentor and all those different things and helping her in that process, I think men are a little bit more have zero tolerance when a woman is not her femininity versus a woman have more tolerance for men
Yeah,
not being
as you
there
should.
in their journey.
Well, let me ask you this. So what are your top three things you think women should do to kind of embrace their femininity?
Get out of their head and get in their heart space. Most
Okay.
women are overthinkers, they're analytical, and they think from their head and not feel in their heart space. Especially
You think
if she,
women feel from their head more than their emotions?
yeah, let's look like this. If you have a woman with a lot of degrees, she's been trained to think, to analyze, to be more critical. So when
Hmm.
she get in a relationship, she's going to look at all the things he's doing wrong. She's going to analyze the relationship. She's going to overthink small things. She's more in her head versus in her heart space. What she feel intuitive, and it's hard for her to do that if she's in her head. Now she's going to have walls built up. Now she's going to see things that's not there. Now she's going to blow, overdo situations and arguments because she's overthinking it. She's going to not trust, because if he do anything wrong, it's going to remind her of somebody else that may have abused her, especially she have went through sexual abuse. So she's going to overthink things. She's going to
Okay,
play
what are the other two?
detective. Huh?
I said, what are the other two?
The other two, I would say to go outside and play. Go to the park, enjoy nature, tap into the little girl inside of her. Allow that little girl to speak through her. And the third one, I would say hire a femininity coach. That's what I would say. Because if you have always grown up around strong women, that's what you think is the standard to be a woman. She don't know anything about being soft, being vulnerable, about being caring and thoughtful. She don't know anything about allowing things to flow in her life, allowing the relationship to flow. She don't know anything about trust, really trusting a man to lead her and make some of the decisions for her, because she's used to doing those things on her own.
Okay. Now let's go back to this career woman, right? Because I like
Hmm.
that image that we have. Now let's say this woman is a moderate earner, right? Say she makes around, put it a little bit above average, put around $60,000 a year, right?
Okay.
Uh, we currently right now in the dating market, we know that women typically date either at their level or above, right? And we also know that when it comes to household bills and splits, 50-50 is not really a thing. Can we agree on that, or do I have to break that down?
I agree on that.
You agree with that? Okay, so for the most part, men have to bear the burden of paying a good portion of the bills. I would say at least 70 to 80% of the bills,
Correct.
right?
Hmm.
At the same time, that man is expected to be monogamous, right?
Hmm.
Those two things to me would make him a a traditionally presenting guy. Now, the things you've said, do you think those are traditional feminine qualities women like that are really necessary?
Now, which qualities? The overthinking, the
Yeah. The
tapping into
overthinking,
your inner
going to the
girl.
park,
Hmm. Do
and
I
getting
ask
a
the question
coach.
again? Do I
Hmm?
think they're what?
Do you think what the all right, so we know what the woman's looking for.
Hmm.
Do you think those things matter to that type of guy?
If they don't, I think they should. I think they
Well,
should matter.
what do you think he would look for?
I would think he would look for, if he's around the 60,000 range, I think he would look for a woman that's understanding and willing to accept him where he's at, and not look at him or try to compare him to another man who makes more money. Because let's say if he makes 60,000 and how rent and bills are today, then more than likely he's living paycheck to paycheck.
Well, let's say he makes more than her, because women typically date.
Hmm.
They, they. I mean, they do date on their level to some degree, but they usually try to go up at least, you know, 15 to 20%. So
Hmm.
let's say he makes like 100,000, right? Do you
Okay,
think
what?
like those are the main qualities that he would jump for?
No, I think they are some of the main quality I think will be the overthinking. The overthinking will allow her to even question his judgment, question his leadership. The overthinking will cause a lot of conflict and arguments in the relationship. I think her tapping into her heart space will allow her to understand him more, see his vision more, support him more, because she's intuitive. When you follow your heart, you're intuitive. You can flow with him more and not try to recreate something from a past trauma. If that makes sense. It allows him is it allow her to see his vision. It allows her to support him, to be that presence or that support system that he may need in his life. A woman who overthinks blows up every conversation. She's hard to get along with because she overthinks everything. It goes into double mindedness.
I think okay. So I think what you're trying to say is I would consider inspirational. So I think when you see that guy who's traditional, right?
Mhm.
You know, you expect him to be monogamous. You expect him to pay the brunt of the bills. I think the main three things he's gonna look for is femininity, right? So that is submissiveness, agreeable, and submissiveness and agreeable for the most part. Beauty is also going to be the top priority on this guy's list, and then inspirational, which is some of the qualities that you listed.
Yeah, that's still tapping into the heart space.
I mean, I guess, yeah, I guess tapping into the heart space. I guess
Yeah.
that's another name for it. I just think those are the qualities like the woman needs to put in before she presents herself to the dating market, right? So find like when you find that guy, right, and you say, oh well, he needs to provide this space for me. I think you should have already done the work so that you're open to following his program, you know, and then be open to the space that he provides for you.
Yep. That's heart space, living in the flow of everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think it's hard for women to do that when they have had to do it all themselves and they didn't have that image of a feminine woman in her life. Like when I look back in my family, I can't name 5 feminine women that I've had to if I were to model anybody. I couldn't. So I had to go on a journey myself to learn to bring that out into flow. And it took coaches, it took classes, it took healing, it took therapy, it took years of work. And it's a day to day process. You have to be able to identify what areas am I more masculine? Why is it there? And get into the root of that. And a lot of it is through sexual trauma, not seeing the model of how to heal and get past things, learning to not just sweep things up under the rug, but take ownership of these things. Yes, this was me. Yes, I lived this life. And yes, this is who I am. But where do I go from here? That's really owning that. I like to call it women in dresses, but they have penis energy. We look like women, but in the essence of who we are, everything we do and navigate and we think are like men. If we live in a society of men, so most women have to learn that if they hadn't brought up in the culture, whether it was a normal. You look at a lot of other cultures, they women were trained to be wives. They were trained to be submissive. They were trained to support their husband. They were trained to be a wife. In a lot of like our communities, we didn't see that. It was how strong and independent we can be, how we can bounce back from adversities, how we can be the prayer warriors, and how we can stand on guard and do all these things. All those things are masculine roles.
But aren't you, so in your experience, aren't you seeing that okay, as a guy, right, who
Mhm.
wants a feminine woman, right? And let's say you do find this boss babe or someone who's very career oriented and very focused on themselves, you kind of have to train her to be the wife that you want. And when you say things like that, when you say things, oh, you know, I need to train my wife. Well, if she's never seen a feminine woman in her entire lifetime, then yeah, it's gonna be up to you, and it's gonna be your responsibility to correct bad behaviors and just kind of train her to be the wife that you want. But of course, when you say something like that, they're gonna label you a certain type of guy But it's like no, like you've never seen it, so who's supposed to tell you what someone like me is likes, right?
Well, well, some women will look at that. Either where it goes, you're being trained. Whether you're being trained by the media, whether you're
Exactly.
being trained, you're being trained for something. Now, there are situations to where my significant other, said the same thing in different areas, but I was in a space to where I was open and mature enough to receive the intent behind the words, because what one man that you've been with, what he may require, may be different from what another man requires.
Oh yeah, every man is
So
gonna
in
require
any
different things.
relationship, they you both have to be trained for each other. There's still levels of healing and training and molding that has to take place.
But typically when I speak about training, yes, the guy is gonna have to learn things about his woman that comes without being without really being said, without really needing to be said. But when we're seeing this generation of women who are trying to be more sexually liberated, trying to take less accountability for having one night stands, and then just going to college and then getting basically getting thrown into the idea of feminism, and they're being told that they're not equal to men and that they gotta fight for these rights or whatever, yada yada yada, right? There's gonna be certain things as a man when you're dating and you're looking for the right woman you want to settle down with, that you're gonna have to accept, because not every woman is perfect. But also at the same time, your woman has to be open to being coached by you and being able to be taught by you, because hopefully, and hopefully she picked the right guy to the point where he has enough experience and wisdom and masculinity traits where he can be able to pass down some of the things and some of the knowledge he has learned onto her from his either failed relationships or
Yeah.
failed dating attempts, right? So that's the key difference. Yes, we're going to have to learn each other, but there's definitely going to be more of a responsibility on that man to then correct some behaviors and, kind of teach this woman how to be a wife, which is
I
unfortunate,
can agree
right?
with that. I can agree
Which
with
is
that.
unfortunate for most guys. You gotta teach your girl how to be a wife, but you'll never hear a woman saying that she wants to teach a guy how to be a husband,
Well,
and she shouldn't have to.
we may not say it out loud, but the idea and the thought is there. I'll put it like this: you have to teach and train them how to be your husband, not a husband, but your husband and his wife. I think that is a difference, not
But
just a
some of them
wife.
you gotta teach how to be a wife. They have to get to that point first.
Yeah, and some
I
men
would
you
say
have to
even a
teach how to
girlfriend.
be a husband.
I would say
Your
sometimes
husband,
you gotta teach them how to be a girlfriend. That's
huh?
step. That's hurdle number one.
What's that?
Teaching them how to be a girlfriend.
Well, yeah, yeah. When you, I don't think the feminine voice is loud enough now. It's not. It have not become a normal for a lot of the young girls because of what they see in the videos and on TV. They think being over sexualized and all these things what makes them a woman, but not realize it. And that's part of my assignment is to increase the feminine voice, to make the femininity a normal for the generation of women. Feminine leadership, the way you build your business, your household, all those things. But they have to have a model, they have to see it in society to say, oh, this is how I'm really supposed to be. And that's just the difference in the age group. By the time the women get to my age, they looking like, oh, I didn't have this when I was 25. I didn't see this at 30. My mom, my aunts, my grandmother, they never displayed what a real feminine woman looks like. So of course the femininity is going to get lost in the hype of being boss chicks and bad bitches and all those things. It get lost. because it appears to be more popular. It appears this is what people want or men want. And then when they come across a masculine man and say, no, I don't want that, is something wrong with him. His standards are too high or her standards are too high. When they're just basic, it's normal, how it's supposed to be, in a sense, how God created it to be.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you talked about like we're prioritizing and promoting the wrong things. So like definitely over sexualizing women's bodies, right? What does that in turn do? That in turns men to just be hypersexual all the time and put a lot of value
Mm-hmm.
into sex, right? And we're seeing that a lot with, unfortunately, a lot with black men. They're putting a lot of their value on just how many women they can sleep with or how good they can sleep with women, and they're not really getting to just building the wealth and community that we used to have. But
Yeah.
yeah, this was a good talk. Do you have any questions you want to ask me
Um,
or any topics you want to discuss?
how long do you think a person should date before getting in a committed relationship?
Ooh, I was just thinking about this the other day. I think the vetting process for men, at least, because men are the ones who ask to be in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship, it should be at least 6 months to a year minimum. In 6 months, I would say you really only want to do 6 months if you've known that woman before. But if this is a complete stranger, I would say you need to vet her for at least a year. That means taking her out on dates, seeing how she is on vacation, seeing how she is around her family, getting to know all her quirks, put her in different situations, try to annoy her, see how she acts, see how she deals with nonverbal communication, how she deals with your body language, what happens when you get upset or you're stressed out, what does she do, how does she react to that. It takes a long time. It's not something you could generally learn really quickly. And if you're really dating with intention and you plan to take this to marriage, so to speak, or just a really long-term committed relationship, I would say then you really need to hone down on the vetting process, and minimum it needs to be a year.
To be in a committed relationship a whole year? Or
Yeah,
this is
especially if you're
marriage?
being intentional. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, if you're a young dude who's 25, I don't think you should be considering a relationship to begin with. But if you're a dude who's like in his 35s and you want to settle down and start your family now, then if you plan to make this woman the mother of your child, then yeah, definitely you need to vet her for quite some time just to make sure that her morals and her values all align with yours, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we see that a lot of people don't even believe in the same religion, and they think that their values and the way they raise their kid is going to align somehow. It's impossible. If you guys don't believe in the same things, you guys don't have the same goals, then somewhere down the line something is going to go wrong. Something's going to go in a different direction, and it's going to come down to the person who has the last say. And to for most relationships, I would say nowadays, it's typically the women when it comes to children. So you gotta be careful with who you pick.
So yeah, this is the dating process for a man who's looking to have a family.
Yeah, me personally, if you're not at that point in your life yet, you don't need to be in a committed relationship.
So what would you say the time distance from somebody who's not looking to have a family, that may have older kids, they may be in their 40s going into their 50s, what would you think the timeline would be then?
A man who say one more time, a man who's in his 40s or 50 who has a kid already,
Mm-hmm. You're not looking to have any more children.
he's not looking to have any more children.
Yes.
Personally, I would say he probably shouldn't be looking for marriage either. Um, so in that case, he's looking because if you already have your family and you're not looking to start a family with the woman, why do you need to get married to her? Marriage is really only really necessary if you. in my opinion, plan to have a family with this woman and then give her another level of commitment so that she feels safer when she's having your children, a sense of security. If she's not having your kids, she could very well just be a long term girlfriend and you guys just enjoy the rest of your life together. There's really no point in having marriage at that point in your life if you already had all your kids.
Oh, wow. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, but I mean, it just makes sense. Like when you think about it, if I'm 50 years old, I have my kids, why would I want to be married again unless it's to have more kids so I could give this woman a sense of security about ending the relationship? Because that's really what marriage is. It's a sense of security that you're not going to be left with nothing if I end the relationship.
Okay.
So yeah, if I mean if you're at that point in your life, if you want to get a long term girlfriend, and and ultimately you can say this woman can make life choices about you when it comes down to your health, right? It becomes you have to vet for at least 6 months, I would say, because if this person can make your health decisions, yeah.
Okay. I learned something new tonight.
Really, you never thought about that?
No, I've never thought about that. I looked at marriage as a union, two people coming together to build and start a life together, not necessarily if they already have kids, not necessarily to just reproduce, but to come together and do life together in a committed marriage.
Oh, that's what it used to be
Yeah.
until the government got involved. That's what it used to be. You can definitely still have, like I said, the only thing that separates marriage today from marriage in the old times is a contract, right? It's a
Yeah.
contract that says that if you leave, you get half of this, right? So without that aspect, I would say it's really no different than you saying I'm committed to this girl, even though she's just my girlfriend.
Yeah, I guess the legal binding contract gives more security of okay, I'm going to think twice before I just walk out the door. I'm going to think
Yes.
twice before I do this because now I'm legally binded to this individual. So I think that's the difference. And it gives you those legal rights, you know, and all the access and all those things.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that marriage has been weaponized the way it has been for the last decade or so, man. It's just like people think that a 20-year marriage was a good run. And I don't believe in that. I mean, if it ended, then you guys didn't stick out your full duty and responsibilities of the marriage. Marriage, from what last I've heard, the vows are till death do us part. So if it was a 20-year run, no, you still failed at it, you know? So, and
Yeah, that's it.
it's been weaponized to a point where, you know, a lot of guys who end up having kids with the wrong women or just end up marrying the wrong women, they'll lose the ability to see their children and then lose half their assets at the same time. So it's just like you have to take some steps to prepare yourself and to protect yourself. And vetting is just one of those steps during that whole phase. After that is like preparing for the marriage and just making sure all the legalities are in place so you don't get screwed over in the end.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes along with rushing to get married is religion play a big part of that, of people not
Mm-hmm.
wanting to be in a relationship, be in sin, better to marry than to burn. So people like, okay, I got to get married. If I want to have sex, I got to get married. So I think that it heightens the idea of being married, but not realizing the commitment of being married. Then you have those who have the fairy tale image of what marriage is, the marriage,
Yeah.
the house, the car, the white picket fence, the dog, all the fairy tale that we've been sold to. So now you have a lot of little girls, oh, I want to get married. I want my dress to be like this. I want the wedding to be like this, but never thought of working on being married for the rest of your life with this one person working on being that wife and seeing yourself as a wife. I think those things outweigh the whole marriage part of it, because people feel like they have to rush to do things and not really taught, okay, marriage is healthy, marriage is good. How do I need to prepare myself to be in a marriage? Then once you come to that point, after had 3 and 4 failed marriages, and by that time, I don't want to use the words too late, but I guess your aspect, what's the use now since you already had the family? Had the
Exactly.
family. So yeah.
And a lot of what we're seeing is that a lot of women are don't really want the man. They want the marriage and the wedding more than they want the man. So,
They want the
it's
ring
going to lead for
and the
it's going to lead
wedding.
for a lot of turmoil in the future.
Yeah, it does. It does. We can, I guess we can blame a little bit of society on that as well. And
Oh
the
yeah, for sure.
individuals and taking accountability. Yeah. Yeah,
Blame the government, blame society. Ultimately, you gotta take accountability for yourself as well. And, put in the
you
work.
do.
Therapy, like you said, and
Hmm.
just understanding the true value and the nature of a man, what that means, what that encompasses, and just how you can make yourself fit into the man that you want life.
I think a
Right?
lot of people should ask this question. Like, we've always been taught to have a list of what you want in a man, what you want in a woman. You can make that list, but you also have to look at, okay, what qualities that he's looking for do I need to have? In the
Oh
same
yeah.
token, who do I need to be for him to want to be with me? And if you take that approach, your list don't even make sense. It's irrelevant at that point, and everything else is turned back to you. What do you need to be for that person to sustain a long-term relationship? A lot of people don't know that level of commitment. They don't know that level of perseverance and going through different things with another person. You have people that, oh, I don't like this, and I can just get up and leave. But a lot of people are not taught commitment. Like, I remember my grandparents never got a divorce. They grew up, when I grew up, they were sleeping in different rooms. I thought it was normal, but they didn't get a divorce. They were still
Yeah.
married until they died. And those things stick with me. They did not get a divorce. They
A lot of
see,
people have lost a sense of duty, like especially in just a committed relationship. People talk about
mm-hmm,
loyalty and love. I'd rather have
respect.
loyalty over love any day, because love is gonna fade at some point, right? So you need more than just love. That aspect of duty and just loyalty to me, and not just in terms of sexual access, but just being
The way
there
you
for me
treat me.
when I'm not there sometimes, right? Knowing that side of me. So a lot of people have lost that sense of duty and just not being able to stick it out. And also, what what we can attribute to that is social media and the way
Mm-hmm.
people date nowadays. A lot of times, people always have the mindset of the grass is greener on the other side, or if I got this guy, then I could get another guy just like him again, and it's not true. Sometimes God gave you all the good men you were gonna get, and that's it, right? And the mindset that there's someone out there for everybody. No,
Yeah.
it's not true.
No.
It's not true.
I,
You will. The people do die alone, and a
they
lot of
do.
people are dying alone more often now because they're not able to lower their standards and expectations and just get with the God's program.
It was one point in my life where God just began to show me all the good men that have crossed my path. And because I wasn't who I needed to be as a significant other, I messed it up. I can say I messed it up, it didn't work however it be, but I had to take personal responsibility for who I wasn't. I was not that feminine woman at that time. I still had a lot of trauma, still had a lot of daddy issues and all those layers. So a lot of it takes a point, you point to a point of maturity to say, I messed that relationship up. That was a good man. I had to erase the fact of what a lot of women say, there's no good men, there are no good black men. I had to say there are a lot of good black men, but am I that woman that he would want to be with long term? Am I showing up as the healed whole version that God created me before the trauma? Took accountability and went on a healing journey. It takes a level of maturity for a woman to say, I need to heal so that I can be chosen. Because at the end of the day, we want to be chosen. We want to say, you're the one, but I had to decide that I was the one for me first before I will want anybody else to choose me. I think that's somewhat the age. A younger women tend to say, "Oh, I can just get another man." By the time you get to my age, like I've had a lot of good men, but I wasn't the good woman. I wasn't the woman that I need to be for him. And taking that was like, wow, my life could have went a lot different if I didn't allow what I've seen, what I've been through, to disturb what should have been. I would say it like that.
Yeah, I mean, taking the right steps, and even nowadays, I'm seeing a lot of women who are even going to therapy and trying to put in the work, but some of the information that they're being fed, whether it's from their friends or their therapist, it's just not good information. There's
Mm-mm.
a very strong narrative that they're pushing on women, especially black women, of being strong and independent. It's still a very strong narrative that they're trying to
It
push on
is.
people, and they're trying to push this idea of getting getting the bag or getting your money up so that you don't have to be dependent on a man. And I'm here to say that there's nothing wrong with being dependent on a man. Yes, you can still make your own money, but you don't need to make an exorbitant amount of money so that you outclass every other average good dude who would have been nice for you, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be some type of balance. And I think it's going to take more conversations like this to just have this balance and then just come to a middle ground where, hopefully all of us can meet and, be in harmony all over again.
Yeah, I went through the same thing as well. I made a conscious decision that I can build my business and work on being in a relationship at the same time. That I didn't have to neglect myself of one. So I had to create my business around the life as if I was already in a relationship. So, like for a whole year, I altered my life as if I was in a relationship before I got in a relationship. I went to the extreme because it was something I wanted, I desired for me to share my life. And realizing that I was putting too much focus in building a business and getting a bag and doing these things, that same energy could be put in other areas of my life that I wanted. And when I made that switch, things fell into place. Relationships fell into place. I was attracting a different caliber of men because I put in the investments, the time, the effort to be that person that somebody wanted to be with. And I think a lot of women think they have to choose. You don't have to choose, you can have both and put in the same amount of effort in both. Like if I worked after if I worked 8 hours, I had to create that boundary. Okay, I gotta stop now because now I have to prepare meals. I have to go into these duties and responsibilities as if I was already in relationship. I asked myself, how would I dress if I was in relationship? How would I live my life? How would I keep my house? How would I cook? How would I do those different things? How would I just navigate through my personal space if I was in a relationship? And most women get comfortable with being single, or they identify their whole identity around being single, being somebody else's spouse. But I had to say, okay, why do I want to be in a relationship? Why do I want this? And I had to wipe away what I've seen on TV about relationships. I had to wipe away the fairy tale and say, I just want to share my life with somebody. I want to share my love. I want to share my joy. I want to share my peace with somebody and build a life with somebody. Getting my motives in place before getting into a relationship. So now I know what qualities to look for. I feel like I know what I need in this man and what he needs from me. And a lot of women don't look at it that way.
Yeah, they don't. But to add to that, right? So you said you built your business along with I guess your purpose or your passion, right?
Hmm.
I would say like women can do that. I'm not telling women not to go out, not to chase a career, not to chase an education. You can do that, but at the end of the day, understand what your goals are in terms of relationship and a family, and the priority that man supersedes when you have him in his
Oh,
life.
yeah. Yeah, I
So
make that intentional. Intentional. It was one guy I met, it was years ago, and I was working on a project, and I was like, one more hour, one more hour. And he like, okay, you said one more hour ago. And not me realizing that he was paying attention to how much time I was putting into building that relationship. And he ended up cutting it off. And that taught me a valuable lesson. I didn't know how to turn off the entrepreneur. I didn't know how to turn off the coach, the speaker. And I had to learn to be Angela. And a lot of women don't know that when they're caught up in their business and their brand. They don't know how to be the person, the woman outside of the business. The business become your life. It becomes everything. I didn't want my business to continue to run my life, but I wanted to run the business and separate who I am from what I do. And a lot of women still have not learned to do that. Even in daily day conversations, business is going to come up eventually. Can we just have a woman to woman conversation without talking about business? And that takes a woman solely building her business in her feminine energy and being that feminine woman. There is no separation. When I talk to my clients, I'm at the same tone. This is who I am. I don't have to turn it off. Like you said earlier, I don't have to turn it off. This is who I am.
right,
I've learned to be a woman that happens to have a business. And that's the difference. My
yep.
business does not make who I am. I make the business. And a lot of women don't know how to separate that.
That's why it goes back to kind of what I spoke on before. Was that you have to be practicing it daily within your lifestyle and
Yeah.
what you do for work. But this was a great conversation. Where
Yes.
can people find you? And yeah, where can people find you?
I am Angela Brand, across all social media.
Okay, great. You're on Instagram, YouTube.
Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. Oh, yeah, that's it.
All right. Check her out on those socials, guys. Thank you for the show. We are gonna wrap up here. Stay tuned for another episode every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30 p.m. Catch you guys later. Peace.